Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's our class, inshallah. Today is for teenagers. Today's class is for those who are between ages 11 to 24. I put it here, okay? Right, it's teenagers. You must put it in the reminder, Nabila. Put it in the reminder, put from ages 11. Okay, so 25. Okay. Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's say Surah Fatiha first. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بفوز السواق. اللهم بيض به أسناني وشد به لذاتي وثبت به لهاتي وأصلح به لساني وأثبني عليه وبارك لي فيه يا رب العالمين. آمين. Okay, then we will, okay, I'm going to use Qatar, but if those of you who are not, if you're traveling somewhere, if you're on your way somewhere, then for women, right, we do not put on perfume in front of men. Right? It is not permissible, in fact, it is not permissible. Right? It's haram for women to put on perfume in front of men who are not their husbands or their direct family members, okay, who are not their mahram. Okay, so if you're at home by yourself, if you are not going anywhere, right, so inshallah you can put it on. Right, but if you are traveling on your way to school, you're on the way somewhere else, right, then it is something that a lot of women do not know. That it is haram actually for women to put on perfume in front of men, right, who are not their mahram. Okay, move this slower 3 times. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الطيب المطيب الحبيب المقرب وعلى آله وصحبه وبلغنا بجاهه كل مقصود ومطلب. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الطيب المطيب الحبيب المقرب وعلى آله وصحبه وبلغنا بجاهه كل مقصود ومطلب. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الطيب المطيب الحبيب المقرب وعلى آله وصحبه وبلغنا بجاهه كل مقصود ومطلب. دعاء. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نوينا التعلم والتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين آمين يا رب العالمين. We're going to do the salawats for this month, Rabiul Awal. Then Al-Habib Omar, he gave us 3,000 right, to do in the month. So it's about 100 a day, which is not that much. It's quite okay. Okay, so we're gonna do it just one time together. Later on at 7:30, right? I'm sharp. I will do all the 100 in half an hour, inshallah, for those who want to join me, okay? So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma ya khayran nasirin, as'aluka bika tusalli wa tusallima ala abdika wa habibika Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi salatan tansuruna biha bima nasarta bihi al-mursalin wa tahfazuna biha bima hafizta bihi dhikra ya qawiyyu ya matin. Okay, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Right. Alhamdulillah, this class, right, is specifically for the youth. Okay, we mentioned before, right? This is specific for the youth because I know adults keep entering here. Okay, so unless you have my permission, right, for the adults, please, 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 go to the YouTube so I can be more, focused and I know who exactly who is here and who are the youth. Okay, so the youth between age 11 to 25. All right, so those of you who are not age 11 to 25, if you are above 25, then can you please excuse yourself, okay, from this class, because I want to be focused like on the youth, right? It's the class always on the YouTube anyway. You can always find it on the YouTube. Okay, but I want to be focused on who is here and who is between 11 to 25. Okay, just focus on these people first. Okay, Alhamdulillah. I need to remind people to not come into it. It's not for them. Okay, remember yesterday I spoke to you about what is spiritually mature, right? Because this class is called spiritually mature with our prophet Sodia. Right? And the spiritual maturity, I give you all 5 different definitions, right, of what is exactly to be spiritually mature, right? Which is basically not to be so affected by dunya, basically, right? Not to be so upset or affected or brought down by things that happen around you, by people or by situations or by matters, right? That not to be, not to be so focused on this dunya right now, but to be focused on the akhirah. So every single lesson I'm gonna recap this again, so that you all will be focused, on this. I'm going to do the poll very quickly just to see who is here. Right, there's one poll, right? So you all can. So let me just see. I hope nobody, just okay. So we have teenagers here. Alhamdulillah. Can you all tell me, are you on your way to school? How many of you here are on your way to school? I know it's a school day. How many of you here are on your way to school? MashaAllah. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Okay, how many of you here are on your way to school? You can tell me on the chat. Anybody here, are you all at home on your way to school? Like, how are you when you're listening to this class? So I know what to expect also as to your responses. Right? Because if you're on your way to school, you're traveling, you're on the go, then it might be difficult to respond, right? To my questions. But those of you who are sitting down for the computer, it's easy to respond. Correct? Those of you who have PSLE coming soon, Alhamdulillah, may be easy for you. Those of you who have O-levels coming soon, Alhamdulillah, may be easy for you. Inshallah. Okay, on your way to school, alhamdulillah. That was my aim. Okay, my aim is to get people who are on their way to school, so we must stop exactly at 7:30, because for most schools they start at 7:30 or 7:40. My school last time started at 7:40 every single day. So I still remember, I must, this is the time when you're on your way to school. So inshallah, it's a good time to listen, right? Maybe it's difficult to type, but it's good to listen. Alhamdulillah, today we have we have much less people who are not supposed to be here. Right? But you have more people who are supposed to be here of your age. Okay, today I can tell you more stories, okay? All right, Alhamdulillah. So to recap, okay, what is spiritually mature? Spiritual, and you all have any questions, any issues, anything at all about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about how to be close to Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, any issues at all, right? You all can just type it on the chat, okay? Type it on the chat, or you can unmute yourself and try and talk, okay? But sometimes I can't hear you because my internet is not strong. Right? So if you can share, it's easier, right, for me to see, right? It's easier for me to see, right, what you are, you know, feast, what, just to see any what questions you have, okay? Right? So the spiritually mature and not to be upset and brought down by matters of this world and by the people around us, to take ownership of our own akhirah, right? And to strive hard to achieve more and more for the next world. Take ownership. You know what's the meaning of ownership, right? That means you are responsible for your own akhirah. Right? You are responsible for your own akhirah. Right? To achieve more and more for the next world, to be able to see all that happens to you with a broader view. It means to understand things better. Right? As when they happen to you. And all that I'm trying to teach you all these lessons, like they actually apply a lot to adults as well. Right? But mashallah, I'm gonna start if you all as young women, right? Because inshallah, if you grew up this way, then you will grow up very strong, right? As a young woman, and you'll be so affected, right? By many things. Okay, let me so let me just recap. Okay, all right. Okay, so we went through all of this yesterday. Okay, so remember the hadith yesterday I went through, right? This is one of my most favorite hadiths yesterday I went through. Like once Rasulullah cried, and this was actually when Rasulullah he went to visit the graves, and as he left the graves, right, he began to cry. And that's why this when he said, I miss my brothers. Right. And then when they asked, who are your brothers, Ya Rasulullah? And he said, aren't we your brothers? Why do you miss us when we're right here? Right. And Rasulullah said, he said that no, you are my companions. My brothers are those who come after me. They believe in me without seeing. Right, mashallah. Like sometimes you just never expect Rasulullah to say these kind of things. Right? Because you miss someone whom you've met. Right. Like you miss someone whom you've met, right? And in fact, actually, the word is yearn. Like he yearns for his brothers, he yearns for them, right? So he knows about them, right? And he has a few more things that he speaks about them. Actually, this hadith that is a continuation. I didn't put it in here, but there's another one that is a continuation whereby one of the companions says, Ya Rasulullah, how will you recognize people? Right? How will you recognize people whom you have never met? And how will you know them on a day of judgment when you've never met them? You don't know them. You don't see their faces. And who can tell me how? How will Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam know us? There are two ways. Okay, there are two ways in which he will know us. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Who knows the answer? Like, how will he know who we are on a day of judgment? Who are the people in his ummah? Who are the people who used to love him and who used to follow him? But we didn't live in his time. We lived after his time. How will he know? How will he know us? Anybody here knows the answer? Right? Anybody here knows the answer? How will he know? Right. So for those who are above 25, can you please excuse yourself? Like those who are above 25, please excuse yourself from this Zoom. Like this Zoom is only for 11 to 25. Okay. Those who are above 25, please excuse yourself, right, from the Zoom. Um, right. There will be light in our faces from what? Right, from what? What will bring light to our faces? Right? What will bring light to our faces? Yes, light of wudu, correct. Right? There will be the light of wudu that will appear on our face and our limbs. Okay. Another way in which our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right, will know us. What is another way? Like who can know another way? Right, so this is why we do when we say Salawat to Rasulullah, what happens? What happens when we say Salawat to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? What happens? What happens? Do you know what happens when you slaughter the Rasulullah? Like on normal days, right? Not on Friday, but on normal days, the angels will take our salawats and they will go to the grave of Rasulullah in Medina and they will tell Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, this person, and the angels will say our name specifically. And they will say your name, Binti, whoever. And they will say your name and your father's name specifically. So nobody can confuse you with somebody else. And they will even say from which country. Right, this person, right, her name exactly from which country is sending salawats onto you. Now has sent salams onto you. Mashallah. Right, the angels will do that on all other days except for Friday. Then on Friday, your salawats go directly with your voice. So which means he can even recognize your voice. If you do a lot of salawats, that Rasulullah, especially on Fridays, he recognizes your voice. Right, so your voice will go directly to Rasulullah with no angels in between. And it will go right there to Rasulullah. You recognize his voice. Now on the day of judgment, when you call out to him, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, he knows, this is the voice that will always send salawats to me on Fridays. I recognize his voice. Right, and he will know you from there. Okay, so we let him get to know us, okay? Right. So one thing is to take wudu and do wudu properly and do wudu well and do all the sunnahs of wudu, right? So he can recognize us on the day of judgment, right? And that's how he answered the question. He said, don't you think that when you have a whole, herd of black horses, and some of the horses are ghuril muhajjalin. What is the meaning of ghuril muhajjalin? Ghuril muhajjalin, that means they have white faces and white arms. I ever Googled before these kind of horses. I searched, and there is a name for them, especially in English. I forgot the English name, right? But there's this specific breed of horses where they're all black, but they have very white face. They have like a white star on their foreheads, and then they have like white, legs, right? So they're called Ghurul Muhajjalin, right? And that is basically people who do wudu, right? And they extend the washing of their wudu. That means they don't wash just up to their, their face only, but when they wash their face, they wash a bit of their head and their ears and their neck. And then when they wash their arms, they don't just wash right up to the elbow only, but they wash up to almost the shoulder. And when they wash their feet, they don't wash just up to the ankle only, but they wash until almost the knee. These are the people who are called Ughurul Muhajjalin. And it means they extend their wudu. So when they come on the day of judgment, they're all bright, right? Because of the wudu that they do. Right? And the other one is because of the salawats. Okay. The next hadith that I want to go through, how much do we love him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, and all of this is to make us focus. And focus, when we focus on our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a lot of things in our life will not be so difficult for us because you're focused. Right? As long as I'm with Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as long as I'm with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm okay. Alhamdulillah, I'm okay. There's a story, a true story actually, of this. I forgot her name, but she lived in our. She used to. Not sure if she passed away already or not. I think she passed away already. But she was from our zaman, from our time, right? And when when she was non-Muslim, I think American journalist, to an American journalist, right? And she was caught she went to some Muslim land, and there was a war that was going on there, right? And the Muslims there, there are some Muslims who are just not good people. They're not good people. So she was caught and she was placed in prison, right? She was tortured and everything and put in prison, right? And they were very, cruel towards her, right? But when she finally escaped from prison, right, they realized that she had actually, while she was in prison and she was alone in prison, she had come into Islam. Right? And people in her country, they were so confused. Like, why do you come into Islam when it was the Muslims, right, who had caught you and put you in prison and tortured you, right? And she said that, those were the Muslims. But I met the one who called me to Islam. Right? And that was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then when they asked her, what do you mean by you met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And she's in our time, okay? She's not like a long time ago, it's our time. She said that every single night when she was in prison, she was very alone. And she was very alone, all by herself. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam will come to her. Right? In awakened state, not even in her dreams, in awakened state. Right? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would come to her and he would keep her company. Right? And he was the one who called her to Islam, and she came into Islam at his hands. And there are many stories of that, right? And he said and she said the torture was bearable. Right? She could bear with the pain and the difficulty and all what she went through in those terrible years in the prison. Right? She could bear with it because it meant that she would meet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam every single night. Right? So she said it made things so sweet because of the difficulty she was going through. Rasulullah was going to see her every single night. Like, so she's like, it was so worth it. Right? It was so worth it. And it made the difficulty nothing. It made the difficulty nothing. And inshallah, some of the stories we show the Sahaba, right, whatever they went through, especially our most favorite Sahabiya, right? Who's our most favorite Sahabiya? The one who went through the most difficult things because of her love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know who is it? Right? She went through the most difficult things, right? Because of her love of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And she was very spiritually mature. She was very mature, this Sahabiya. And she is Sayyidah. Who is she? She's Sayyidah. You all know who is she? Sayyidah. The one who went through a lot just to find Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? Just to be with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to serve Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? To sacrifice everything she had for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? And then she passed away. And she passed away doing so. Right? And he loved her the most. She is Sayyidah. Sayyidah who? Sayyidah Khadija, right? Sayyidah Khadija, she is the one, yeah, she is the one, right? Who would do whatever she can for the sake of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When you upload on the chat, put it, make it public, okay? And make it public so everybody can see. Okay, don't put it in private unless you have a private question. Then you can make it private. But if you're answering my questions, put it public. Lah. Okay. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, right, those in my community with the strongest love for me are from the people who will come after me. Oh, mashallah. Right? There are people, right? There are people, and this is all good news for us. Right? That Rasulullah said, there are people who will love him with a love that cannot be compared with anybody else. And these people, they will come after his zaman. Not in his time, but they come afterwards. Right? So we're going to aim to be these people, okay? Because in our, subhanAllah, when you look around us, there are people who they can really love other things, right? If you know of people who love, soccer players, I know who love soccer players, or people who love celebrities, or they love, singers, or they love all kinds of things all around us. They really love very, 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 very strongly. Right? All of this, super, 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 like the hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-ali al-azim. Like they love all this, I know these youngsters, they love all this Korean pop and all this Japanese, I don't know, this all stuff, right? Why? You see, we can love human beings that we've never met. We can. Right? Human beings can do that. We can love people that we've never met. And we can love them very fiercely or very strongly. Right? And in this world, there are people who love all these, actors and singers and pop culture people, right? They can live all of these things like so strongly, right? They put the pictures on their phones. I don't know if you have seen people in your class, people in your school, like people around you, like they live all these other useless loves. It is useless and it's not mature at all. It's completely immature love. Right? To live all of these things. And why do you say immature? Right? Because there's no benefit. It does not help them in any way at all. But when you love Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you'll be the one who will be with him on the day of judgment. MashaAllah. Okay. And he said, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, some of them would have given their family and their wealth to have seen me. Right? Like they would give whatever they have in their possession just to see Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Let me ask you all here. Would you give everything that you have just to be able to have one session to sit with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Like, will you give everything, all like give out in charity, all your money, all your stuff, all your things, your all of your gadgets, your phone, whatever, you give away everything. Just if it meant you can have just 1 minute to sit with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I know I would. I would give away every single thing that is with me, that just to have that 1 minute to be with Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is to see his beautiful face, to see him smiling back at me. I just said once, even 1 second, even if it's just 1 second, I'll give away everything, right? Just to have that 1 second, right, to be with Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So because of that, we're going to try ourselves harder, I do learn to be with him Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay. This story, allow me to draw for you all. Okay, okay, right? You all me to draw. I draw for small children. I don't draw for older children. I just tell stories, but I don't draw. I don't draw. Right? But if you want me to draw, I can draw lah. But it's not to draw again. Right? Okay. So this story, right, which is one of my most favorite stories also. There was once Rasulullah Sallallahu. So you can imagine lah. You can imagine. Let me ask you a question. Are we allowed to imagine the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Are we allowed to imagine him? When you learn the Shama'il means the description of Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You learn exactly how he looks like, right? You learn that he is a man, right? He's a man. He's not too tall, he's not too short. He's fair. Right? His face, he's on the fair side, his skin is fair, and he's not dark skinned, he's fair skinned. Right? There's a reddishness in his face. Right? A slight reddishness in his face. Right? His hair is black. And you all know all of the descriptions. You must memorize how he is. Memorize how he is. His hair is black. And to answer my question, yes, you can imagine Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And in fact, you should. You should try your best to try and imagine him, how he looks like. Okay, you cannot imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not possible, and that is haram. You cannot try to imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whatever you imagine, Allah is not like that. Right? But Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you can try and imagine. You can try and picture in your head, how does he look like if you've never seen him before? Right? But if you've never seen him before, then dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to let you see him. And maybe one time in your life, two times, many times in your life, let you see Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I'm going to continue this description, okay? He has black hair, right? Very, very black hair. Not brown, right? Not any other color, but it is completely black, his hair. Okay. His hair sometimes they come up, they're wavy, it's wavy. His hair is not curly, it is not straight, but it's wavy. It's wavy black hair, right? Very, very handsome, right? His hair parts in the center. Okay, center parting. His hair, right? It comes down to the top of his ears, usually, most of the time. It comes down to the top of his ears. Can you follow the imagination? Can you imagine it? I can imagine it. Right? His hair comes to the top of his ears, right? Sometimes the length of it, and sometimes it goes to the bottom of his ears, the earlobes, to that length. And sometimes, especially when he wants to go for Umrah or he wants to go for Hajj, he lets his hair grow until his shoulders. Okay, his hair is very smooth, right? Very, very luscious hair, very beautiful hair. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Okay, now you're going to imagine his face, okay? His face, right? Imagine his face, right? His eyes are the most beautiful eyes you have ever seen in your life. Right, very captivating, very beautiful eyes. And his eyes are black. Right? The pupils of his eyes, not the pupils of the iris. Right? The iris of his eyes, they are black. Right? They're very black. And the whites of his eyes, they are very white. Right? The whites are very white and the blacks are very black. Right? He's mesmerizing. When you look at his face, you cannot look anywhere else. He's so mesmerizing. His eyebrows are full, like full eyebrows above his eyes, with a slight parting between his eyebrows. Very beautiful eyebrows he has, right? He has a very manly face, right? His nose is very defined. His nose is sharp and defined, right? Very handsome, very beautifully shaped nose. Right? His lips are perfectly shaped, like a meme. You know what letter meme in Arabic? But sideways, right? So his lips are like, they're very beautiful in the way they are shaped. Okay. And when he smiles, and he's always smiling, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his teeth are white inside his mouth. Right? He's very white teeth inside his mouth, right? That it seems as if light was shining through, right, from him. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? And then his beard, right, it comes up to he's a full beard. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a full beard that if you were to use your fist and place it below your chin, that is how long his beard is. Okay, about a fist below the chin. That's how long the beard of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so can you imagine this is what you're looking at? Okay, can you imagine this is the human being you're looking at? Right, he's not so tall, not so short. He's just nice. His height. But whenever he sits with anybody or he walks with anybody, he will seem to be the tallest person there. He seems to be above everybody else when he walks with them or when he sits with them. But he's actually normal height. Rasulullah, right? His chest is flat and his stomach is flat. Right? So he doesn't have a chest that is protruding over his stomach, nor is his stomach protruding over his chest, but it's flat. Okay, his body is flat. Right? He's muscular in his shoulders and his arms. He's very manly and muscular. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His chest does not have much hair, except for a single hair. There's some hair on top of his chest. There's a single line of hair down to his belly button. Okay, can you memorize how he looks like? Must memorize it. I memorize exactly how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam looks like. You memorize exactly. Right? So whenever before you sleep, you imagine this. You imagine his skin is is the softest, most beautiful skin. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Can you imagine him like that? Okay, Alhamdulillah. Okay, all of you have school now. Okay, we will stop here for today. Inshallah, tomorrow I will continue this. I will continue this hadith. Okay, okay, we'll stop here for today exactly at 7:30. Okay, so tomorrow exactly here I will continue. Wasallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. فاتحة الله رزقنا منافع من خالص مسلم ودلالة الهدى ويسر به وبالنبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإلى أرواح علينا من شيخنا وذم الحق علينا وإلى حضرة النبي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم الفاتحة. Okay, we will now um we will now do this one. Like you will do the slawats for Rabiul Awal. So those of you have to go, if you're already in school, you have to go, right? And you can go now, okay? The rest of you can, if you want to stay, you can stay and please slawats together with me. Right? Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه صلاة تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه صلاة تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سورة تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سورة تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سورة تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سورة تنزلنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحرسنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سورة تنزلنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. يا اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه صلاة تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين نسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه صلاة تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين نسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سورة تنصرنا بها بما نصر به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي تسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي تسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سأتنا بها بما نسأت به المرسلين تحفظنا بها بما حفظت بذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير ناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا بها بما نسأت به المرسلين تحفظنا بها بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا بها بما نسأت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا بها بما نسأت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا بها بما نسأت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا بها بما نسأت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا بها بما نسأت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سورة تنزلنا بها بما نسخ به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سورة تنزلنا بها بما نسخ به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه رسولا تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا به مما نزلت به المرسلين وتحفظنا به بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا به بما نزلت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا بها بما نسط به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به الذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنزلنا بها بما نسط به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظت به الذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنصرنا به بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا به في ذكرى يقول يا بديع. اللهم وبارك على سيدنا أسألك بك أن تسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنصرنا به بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا به بما حفظت به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم مثل تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين أسألك بك أن تسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين، أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين، وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي يا متين. اللهم يا خير الناصرين، أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، تنصرنا بها بما نصرت به المرسلين، وتحفظنا بها بما حفظ به ذكرى يا قوي. اللهم يا خير الناصرين، أسألك أسألك بك أن تصلي وتسلم على عبدك وحبيبك سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم،